How much can LSU's offensive line realistically improve over the remainder of the season? We ask a Hall of Famer next on Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. And as always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. How much can LSU's offensive line improve? A former Tiger All-American, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, member of the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor, Todd McClure, weighs in just a second. Our weekly visit with Shea Dixon from On 3, the Bengal Tiger, who predicts an LSU commit incoming this week. You'll find out who. And the baseball Tigers are headed to the White House. We'll give you all the deets on that coming up here on today's episode of Locked on LSU. But we have spent a good amount of time here, really since the spring, talking about LSU's offensive line, and for good reason. As it is borne out here in the first half of the season, all of the time we spent talking about LSU's offensive line was justified. That you lost 5 starters, the 4th overall pick of the draft, 4 guys that had played for nearly 200 career games combined. And how was that turnover going to look and work with 5 new starters across that front, including a couple of transfers, a couple of young guys starting for the first time? And through the first half of the season, it's pretty obvious. You've seen some nice performances in pass protection, but largely run blocking has been a real challenge across the board. I think your transfers in Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson have been serviceable there. Certainly not dominant, but good. But you've had real trouble at tackle. Now, Todd McClure, as I mentioned, is a guy we talked to before the season started. And he tried to put into context for us the difficulty of 5 guys coming together to play as one. And despite warnings from a guy that's played more than a dozen years in the National Football League, 198 career games in the Falcons Ring of Honor, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, was a 2-time first-team All-American at LSU. A lot of people still didn't heed that advice. So now halfway into the season, I asked Todd to give me a gauge of what he thought at the beginning of the season and, where they are now, considering how difficult it is for 5 to play as one.
Yeah, Matt, it's extremely difficult. And I know we talked before the season got started, and, the talk going into the Clemson game was, the 5 starters and maybe 2 or 3 more guys that would rotate in. And we said, if you got 8 guys that are probably going to play, then you may not have 5. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that right now. I hate talking bad about college kids, but Weston Davis is really struggling. He's a guy that's long and tall, and he's not using his length at all. He's letting guys get into his body, and he has really struggled. And I think that has hurt us on the offensive line. But I think it's the transfer portal era where, if a receiver, you can go see if a guy can run and catch. A linebacker, you can see if he can get off of blocks and make tackles. The hardest part of that transfer portal era for me is finding a cohesive unit of offensive linemen. And the days of building that, when I was playing, we had 4 guys that came in the same recruiting class, and we grinded together for 3, some of us 4 years before you got the opportunity to get on the field, and you built chemistry. And I think a little bit of that is lost right now.
It's actually not that dissimilar from what happened in 2022 when, for the first half of that season, where you had 2 freshman tackles and a lot of shuffling on the offensive line, was a real challenge. By the end of that season, those guys came together, and it ended up being really good offensive line, dominant, certainly in pass protection over the course of the last 3 years. Well, you lost all those guys, so it is sort of like a reset back to what it was like in 2022. Now, you heard Todd there mention Weston Davis, and I agree with him. I try never to make it a habit of piling on young players. I'm not going to do that with Weston Davis, but there is some objective truth, right? In the second half of the Louisiana Tech game, they sat him down, and Brian Kelly said afterwards he needed to just sit and watch and take a breath and gather himself. We've talked about objective metrics like Pro Football Focus. If you look at PFF, there are 35 LSU players that have taken an offensive snap this year. 35 that have taken an offensive snap. If you look at the season grades at PFF, Weston Davis is 35th with a 39.0 grade overall on offense. And he is quite literally the lowest graded player on the offensive side of the ball this season for LSU. So there are some objective metrics there. And I think at 6'7", 320, as athletic as he is going to be such a great player. He has all the physical ability. He's just got, like Brian Kelly said, he's just got to get time. But, you know, and I want to remind you, on Monday, I asked Brian Kelly about the possibility of moving Josh Thompson to right tackle. Of course, Thompson was the starter at Northwestern at right tackle in 2023 before moving to guard in 24, and he's started 6 games at LSU now at right guard here in 2025. But this was Brian Kelly's response, in case you missed it, Monday, when I asked him about if they had considered moving Josh Thompson out to right tackle.
We did, but we're willing to live with some mistakes out at right tackle because we think his future is so bright. So when you go into that whole process of thinking about it, do you thwart his growth of what he needs to see every day? He was really good against 6 and pass protection, really good. That guy is outstanding. He's as good as I've seen. He is so quick. He's got a power move. He's got an edge move, and he did a great job. We've got to get him better in the run game. And that's where, at times, you want to put Josh out there. But we're going to live with him. And I'm proud of him. He's growing. He's learning this game. And that's a big part of this. You know, O-line awareness, O-line instincts, some have it, some don't. Some you got to really give them reps. And that's what this is about. He needs to play.
He needs to play. So are you willing to live with the mistakes in the short term for the long-term payoff? Brian Kelly's answer is yes. So I asked Todd McClure if that's the right decision. And then, by the way, this is a long cut because then our back and forth dovetail into the true freshman Carius Curran.
You know, Matt, right now, to me, Davis is struggling, and it's affecting our running game. It's affecting our passing game. The fact that a change hadn't been made already, you know, it may be that we don't have anybody else or anybody they can trust, you know, because believe me, those coaches, their jobs are on the line, and they're not going to keep putting a guy back out there if they feel like it's going to affect their job security. So right now, to me, they feel like, or so far, he's been their best option, and that's a little bit scary because he struggled. And normally, when you see a guy that's struggling that much, he would have already been replaced. Whatever will help this running game, man, and whatever will help us be able to get the ball down the field. And like you talked about, I don't know these guys. I haven't seen them practice, you know, so I don't know how this group gels.
Last thing, Todd, what have been your early impressions of Carius Curran?
I loved him. And like I said, I haven't been in meetings. I don't know mentally, you know, his assignments and all that stuff. But when he played in the Ole Miss game the other day, I was like, man, this dude's got to be in somewhere, you know. But there's got to be something that's keeping him out of the game right now, whether it's the mental part of it, you know, not knowing his assignments all the time. But as far as the physical attributes and the way he plays the game, his hands, his technique, looks like he should be in that line somewhere.
Why you said when you watched him against Ole Miss, what was it that stood out in the Ole Miss game?
His hands. You know, I watched him whenever they said he was, you know, going to be starting the game. So my eyes went there for just about the whole game because they've been there the rest of the season watching Davis struggle a little bit, and his pass sets were really good. His hands, how he would react to that defensive end going from inside to outside or outside to inside, his feet were good. I just love what he brings to the table, and but there's got to be a reason, you know, whether they think he's a little bit behind with, and it could be the checks at the line of scrimmage, you know, where he might be a little slow thinking when we go from one play to the next. I don't know what it is, but he has the physical attributes, in my opinion.
Eventually, the cream will rise. It'll be curious to see if Weston Davis can catch up quickly enough or if this coaching staff is forced into making some decision there at right tackle, because right now it has been a liability. See how the Tigers fare on that offensive line against a very good Vanderbilt defensive front this Saturday in Nashville. The future looks bright as well, as the Tigers are zeroing in on a commitment this week. We'll tell you who next. Locked in LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda, because Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. You see, Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. With more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025, from the footwork to the breath work, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail. From the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery, you can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's show is also brought to you by Peloton, and Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. And I love how Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps. It suggests your right weights. It corrects your form. It makes every rep safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. That's ONE, onepeloton.com. We've talked about the current. Let's talk about the future. Every week, Shea Dixon from On3, the Bengal Tiger and Rivals, is good enough to visit with us and talk a little recruiting. And later this week, as a matter of fact, on Thursday, Javon Vital is set to make his commitment announcement. He's a 2027 prospect out of Southwest Louisiana, and Shea Dixon seems to think the Tigers are going to get good news.
He'll announce this week. They've already offered. These kids are juniors in high school. LSU's already offered 10 plus kids out of Louisiana next year. And I think it's the same number that we have in the On 300 or the Rivals 300 right now. But he's one of the top 10 players in the state, coming out of Hamilton Christian Academy over in Lake Charles. And I'm not too familiar with how long they've been open, but if he were to pick LSU, and I've got my pick in on him to pick LSU, but Southern Cal, UCLA, there's other teams in the mix here. If he does pick LSU, Matt, he would become the first player to ever go from Hamilton Christian to signing or committing to LSU football. So I don't care if they open this year, which they didn't. I know he played there last year, but that's a pretty cool thing to take with you if you wind up playing for the home state team.
He's a wide receiver.
Yeah, well, right now, I mean, he's playing 1A ball over at Hamilton Christian, and he's everything that they have. I think quarterback-wise, return specialist, DB, he's kind of that guy for him. But yes, viewed as a kind of a smaller slot wide receiver at the next level.
It's a really interesting athlete when you look at Javon Vital. So he's 5'9", 185. So he's not a big guy. And in the composite, he's a 3-star. The number 361 overall prospect. He's listed as the 13th best player in Louisiana for 2027. Now, I often say, and we often say here, that it's not, what your star rating is, it's who offered. And you heard Shea mention it there. Aside from LSU, he's got offers from UCLA, USC, Houston, and then a lot of really small schools. McNeese, Northwestern State, UTSA, North Alabama, Sacramento State. So a pretty wide gap there. But it's also worth mentioning, you're talking about a guy who's halfway through his junior year of high school. And so you're talking about a young prospect who's still going to play his junior year and go through the camp circuit before his senior year and then play his senior year. So a long way to go. So the question you ask yourself with someone like this is, do you trust LSU's staff evaluation? And one of the things that I would love to point out, because I'm not going to be labeled a hypocrite, is I said when Brian Kelly was hired and he hired Brian Polian as his recruiting coordinator. And the example I always give, and I don't in any way intend for this to be a negative reflection on this young man, but they went to Las Vegas and offered a 3-star cornerback named Jeremiah Hughes. And Hughes came here and he couldn't play at this level, and he ultimately transferred after a year. And the point that I made then is there's no reason ever to get on a plane and fly to Las Vegas to recruit a 3-star cornerback. Throw a rock from LSU's campus, you're going to hit a half dozen 3-star cornerbacks. Well, here you have a kid from Louisiana, from Southwest Louisiana, that LSU saw at camp. Frank Wilson recruited him and said, we like that guy, so they offered. So if you trust LSU's coaching staff to identify players that they really like, are you good with it? I would point out someone like P.J. Woodland. When you look at P.J. Woodland, his recruiting ranking wasn't great. He was a 3-star, but the staff identified him and went, we like that guy. He fits the mold of what we want. And now he's a starting cornerback opposite Mansour Delane right now for LSU. So he basically took a job from Ashton Stamps. And it's because LSU identified the prospect that they wanted. You're also talking about a kid from Louisiana who is more likely to stay and develop and wait his turn in an era where you go recruit national guys. And sometimes if they're not playing right away, those guys don't stay. So I like it because I trust this coaching staff and their ability to identify talent that they want and how they want to use it. Does Vital end up as a cornerback, as a wide receiver? I don't know, but he's going to announce his commitment on Thursday. Shea's got the crystal ball pick in on LSU, and it certainly stands to reason the home state school is going to land Javon Vital, who would be the second commit of 2027. When that happens, we'll certainly talk about it. Now, the Tigers will play a massive home game a week from Saturday when Texas A&M comes in, very likely as an unbeaten top 5 team in the country, and that should be the biggest recruiting visitor list of the year. Well, this past Saturday against South Carolina, a 5-star number 1 corner in the country for 2027 visited LSU. His name's Joshua Dobson, and Shea gave us the details there.
Yeah, kid who's coming out of Fort Mill over in South Carolina. So he's seeing his home state team take on LSU and got to see LSU win. And he talked about it being one of the notable visits he's had in his recruitment. He's only a junior, but when you're the number 1 corner and already a 5-star, you've made a number of visits. So that was one thing that sort of stood out. And then he's had a relationship with Corey Raymond for a while. And I talk about it often, that when you get to this point in a recruiting process, Matt, and you've only got a couple of months left till signing day, or the majority of your class is built, that focus shifts to the next cycle. And look, they've got 1 commit, Peyton Houston, but they're going to start stacking them up. And I often say, look, you'll look back at weekends like this where you can look up now and DJ Pickett is your cornerback and guy for the future. Well, these are those weekends where a guy like Joshua Dobson just kind of slips under the radar and people are like, don't realize, hey, this could be your 5-star future guy. And this was his first visit and was really a tone setter. So I think for him to be able to see LSU beat his home state team and obviously the defense look like they have all season was pretty big for him. So couple that with a relationship with Corey Raymond, he doesn't target many people per cycle, notably out of state. So Dobson will be a guy to keep.
If Javon Vital is the 3-star that the coaching staff is sort of betting on the come, Joshua Dobson is the solidified 5-star. When you look at his rating and ranking and all that, he's a 6'1", 170-pound cornerback, as Shea mentioned, out of Fort Mill, South Carolina. He is a consensus 5-star for the class of 2027. I mean, he's a junior in high school right now. He is the number 6 player in the composite, the number 2 cornerback, and the top player in the state of South Carolina. So Rivals, by the way, has him as the number 1 cornerback in the country, but 24/7 and ESPN have him as the number 2. We're splitting hairs here. And as far as the schools that have offered, take a deep breath and rattle them off. South Carolina, Clemson, Duke, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Georgia, Florida State, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, NC State, Virginia Tech, Auburn, Texas, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Florida, Texas Tech, Alabama, Ohio State, Miami, Michigan, Syracuse, Boston College, Indiana, UConn, LSU, Penn State, Kentucky, Virginia, Louisville, Arkansas, Mississippi State. The list is forever. USC, Oregon, Maryland, the list goes on forever. So he's got offers from everybody. He can go anywhere he wants. LSU's trying to reclaim DBU. The relationship with Corey Raymond is in place, as you heard Shea there. You got him on campus early in his recruitment. Maybe this could be the next 5-star DJ pick. Of course, you got Haven Finney, who was going to be the number 1 corner for 2027 for a reclass for 26. So you could end up with DJ Pickett, Haven Finney, and then potentially Joshua Dobson as well. Corey Raymond rebuilding DBU, and you love to see it. As that develops, we'll certainly keep you posted. But keep an eye on Javon Vital on Thursday as he's set to make his announcement, and we all think that it is, in fact, going to be a commitment to LSU. Championships abound in Baton Rouge, and that's true certainly on the baseball diamond. It sounds like LSU and Jay Johnson and his team are going to make their trip to the White House coming up soon. We'll give you the deets as we continue to wrap up Locked on LSU, your team every day. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware needs a refresh, or the guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready. From Christmas trees and wreaths to bedding, cookware, and outdoor inflatables, it's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. And I love how easy it was to find the piece that fits style and budget, everything in one place, and checkout is a breeze. Get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. And we're brought to you by SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. Again, that's SH like Supply House, SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Well, Jay Johnson and the baseball Tigers claimed the program's 8th national championship in June with their championship series win in Omaha over Coastal Carolina. And as they say, to the victor go the spoils. And it has been a really special offseason for LSU as Jay Johnson has punctuated an amazing signing class for 2026, his portal class for 2026, and has already embarked on signing one of the best recruiting classes, if not the best recruiting class in the country for 2027. But there's still a small order of business to take care of, and that is a White House visit, as is customary for the national champs. And was told that LSU is scheduled to make their White House visit coming up on Monday. Now, this has not been very actively or heavily promoted as of yet. And as I understand it, that's mostly coming from the White House because of what's going on in Washington with the government shutdown and everything. So I certainly hope that this trip scheduled for Monday doesn't get derailed because of something like that, because it's a great honor. And listen, I'm not a political person. I believe we should all focus more on our commonalities and what brings us together instead of our differences, which push us apart. So I don't care if you're red or blue, R or D, whatever. I don't care if the president is an R, a D, a red, or a blue. I think anytime you have the opportunity to go to the White House and meet the president, it is an incredible opportunity that many Americans will never get. So for young people to have won a national championship, experience this amazing accomplishment, and to have the opportunity to go to our nation's capital and to be honored on the White House lawn is such a cool thing. So Jay Johnson, his baseball team, the LSU travel party are all expected, as I understand, to leave on Sunday to travel to D.C. to be honored on Monday at the White House with the rest of the spring sport national champions. So certainly hope that that gets to happen for these guys that will have the opportunity to go to meet the president and to be honored to be recognized for an amazing accomplishment, the 8th national title in LSU baseball history. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and expect that that is going to go off without a hitch and that they're going to be able to make that trip to the White House. But be on the lookout for Jay Johnson and his squad being there Monday in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol, being honored for their national championship. In the meantime, I know we are smack dab in the middle of football season, but it is worth mentioning that the LSU baseball team is going through fall ball. They just had a fall ball scrimmage this past weekend, a weekend series this past weekend at Alec Box Stadium. They do have coming up here in a few weeks a trip to Mobile, to Biloxi, where they'll play at the minor league ballpark in Biloxi, which they did a year ago. The NCAA changed the rule where teams are allowed to have inter-squad scrimmages in fall ball. So we'll see LSU get the opportunity to play in Biloxi for a weekend set and to get a jump start onto the 2026 baseball season as they try to defend their national title and go for number 9. It'd be great to see another new number on the Intimidator. So as we creep and crawl closer to LSU and Vanderbilt, excited about the rest of this week. We do have a Locked on LSU and Locked on Vanderbilt crossover scheduled for later in the week, and I am going to be heading to Nashville for the game. So I'm traveling on Thursday. I'll be doing my radio show Friday from Nashville. So if you're a Tiger fan in Nashville or know someone who is going to the game in Nashville, my radio show after further review will be live from the Friends in Low Places Honky Tonk Bar in Nashville on Broadway Friday from 3 to 6, followed by the LSU Alumni Association party, which will be there. So if you're looking for where all the Tiger fans are going to be on Friday in Nashville, we'll look for you for my radio show from 3 to 6 Central, and then the LSU Alumni Association party to follow at, just think Garth Brooks, at Friends in Low Places Honky Tonk there in Nashville on Broadway. So really looking forward to an awesome weekend and hopefully a Tiger win in Nashville. Okay, that's going to do it for us here. Thank you so much for making us your first listen here on Locked on LSU. Now for your second listen, how about you check out Locked on SEC? Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championships and everything in between. You can find Locked on SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you are listening on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. I know I ask for that all the time and at the end of every show, but it really is meaningful in how it helps us continue to grow. And if you're on YouTube, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And please let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day for Locked on LSU. It's your team every day.